Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez has called herself the boss of Congress, and she must be. Not only is she about to be named a comic book superhero, but apparently the don't eat burgers rules don't apply to her and her staff. We'll take a look at Burgergate, plus Senate Democrats are now on record supporting infanticide. We'll look at that vote, plus a few other significant votes in the Congress. I'm Bobby Eberle. This is a 13-minute news hour.
God bless the United States of America.
Okay, so we're going to take a look at some congressional votes. And the big one this week was the bill to protect human life following a botched abortion. There's a baby outside the womb, and this bill sought to require or make sure that doctors provided that baby the care that any living human being would receive from a doctor. It was sponsored by Ben Sasse from Nebraska. And we'll get to that vote, but there was a couple other votes that were interesting this week. As you probably would have guessed, now that the Democrats control the House, they voted to prohibit President Trump from declaring a state of emergency for the border and thus the border wall. So the vote was 245 to 182, and of course all the Democrats voted for it, but it still leaves them about 40 votes short of being able to override a veto. So the bill now goes to the Senate. They have, I believe, 18 days to vote on a similar measure and send it over to the president if both houses pass it. I doubt it will pass in the Senate, but say it does, then the president, as you know, will veto it. And the House is already 40 votes short, so they will not be able to override this veto, and it will just proceed as normal. But the House is on record now, led by Nancy Pelosi, in trying to block Trump's efforts to fund the border wall through his declaration of a national emergency. Another interesting vote came on the Natural Resources Committee, chaired by T.J. Cox, and a Democrat, and it was a hearing on climate change. Now, apparently, this is a big deal for the Democrats, but not so big of a deal that they'd actually show up to the meeting. So because there was so little attendance, the ranking Republican on the committee, Representative Louis Gohmert, made a motion to adjourn the committee. And it's hilarious because they did a voice vote. The yeas had it, but Chairman Cox said no really loud and said the noes have it. So they had to do a roll call. And the Republicans won 4-2. They adjourned the committee without doing any business. So that just shows you, I guess, how important climate change is to the Democrats when they won't even show up for their own committee meeting, and Gohmert just adjourned the meeting. So that was really good. But the real news is what happened in the Senate on Monday night when every single Democrat senator that's running for president, we're talking about Kirsten Gillibrand, we're talking about Cory Booker, Kamala Harris, Elizabeth Warren, Sherrod Brown, Bernie Sanders, all of them voted against the bill that would protect life following a botched abortion. There's a baby born. The baby is outside the womb. It's living. He or she is living. And this just sought to require that doctors provide that baby the care that it deserves. And it failed. It needed 60 votes to close debate, and the Democrats, only 3 Democrats voted for the bill. Casey Manchin and Jones. So Pennsylvania, West Virginia, Alabama. Those were the only 3 Democrats. Every Democrat running for president from the Senate voted against it. Here's what Trump had to say in his tweet. Senate Democrats just voted against legislation to prevent the killing of newborn infant children. The Democrat position on abortion is now so extreme that they don't mind executing babies after birth. Okay, so Dr. Leana Wen, who is the president of Planned Parenthood, took issue with that tweet, and she jumped in, and here's what she said. She said, as a mother of a 1-year-old, I am disgusted by Donald Trump's lies that aim to stoke fear and division. I know his true intention, to shame women, limit our access to health care, and take away our rights. So obviously, that bill had nothing to do with taking away rights. These are babies that survived an abortion. They are alive, and they deserve, all babies from conception deserve to be protected. But this particular bill address those that are outside the womb. They are alive, and how these Democrats could vote against it is absolutely inconceivable. It's just unconscionable how they can do it. And if you looked, I did a search of the major, left-wing mainstream media sources, and you could not find a story out there about this vote and how the Democrats took a stand for infanticide. I looked at CNN, ABC, CBS, NBC. You couldn't find it. The only real article I found was on leftwingpolitico.com, and here is their headline and opening paragraph, which just shows you how slanted the coverage is. It said, Senate defeats anti-abortion bill as GOP tries to jam Democrats. The Senate on Monday rejected a bill making it a felony for a doctor to harm or neglect an infant who survives an attempted abortion, part of a Republican effort to squeeze Democrats ahead of the 2020 campaign. So I don't think I've ever seen a more misleading headline or a misleading intro paragraph than that right there. Squeeze Democrats for 2020. Look what's going on in the country. Look at this, what passed in New York, what they were proposing in Virginia, where the governor, Ralph Northam, went on the radio and basically said that abortion is okay it's okay to kill the baby after birth while it's just sitting there. You have Connecticut moving towards similar legislation, Illinois as well. So this is timely. This is needed right here. And it puts the Democrats on record saying that they support this kind of inhumane treatment. It's absolutely outrageous. But Politico went on, and I want to read what they wrote. Ahead of the vote, the bill's Republican sponsors and outside anti-abortion groups lobbying for its passage made it clear that the intent of Monday's vote was to undermine the growing pool of Senate Democrats running for president. In a speech just before the vote, bill author Senator Ben Sasse quoted a campaign stump speeches by Democrat Senators Kamala Harris, Cory Booker, Elizabeth Warren, Kirsten Gillibrand, and independent Bernie Sanders, vowing to look out for society's voiceless and vulnerable, and accused them of hypocrisy for opposing his bill's regulations for care of newborns. Absolutely, positively right in that respect, that if they're talking about being advocates for the voiceless, caring about the children that are coming across the border, how can they stand by and not vote for this bill when hundreds of thousands of babies are aborted every single year? These are ones that are alive following the procedure, and they vote against that bill. So yes, let them be on record. Let them make a stand. Let them try and, stick up for this vote and justify this vote. It's absolutely outrageous that they can sit there and say that this is just politics when we see what's happening in these states like New York and Virginia and Connecticut and Illinois. We have to do something about it because the left is going farther and farther overboard to the extremes, and it's going to hurt them not only in the elections, but even so, even if they're voted out, we need to do something now and take a stand for this because it's just absolutely outrageous. But the breaking news for today that happened overnight is Burgergate. And this is what we want to dive into because we have Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez who's strutting around saying that she's the boss. If you recall, this past Friday, she was speaking at a conference, and here's what she had to say.
I just introduced Green New Deal 2 weeks ago, and it's creating all of this conversation. Why? Because no one else has even tried. So people are like, oh, it's unrealistic. Oh, it's vague. Oh, it doesn't address this little minute thing. And I'm like, you try. You do it.
Right.
Because you're not. So until you do it, I'm the boss. How about that?
You heard it here.
So I guess, being the boss means that, yeah, she's the boss. The rules don't apply to her because if you recall, in her Green New Deal, she talked about doing all sorts of crazy stuff. She talked about the dangers of farting cows. She was just on Showtime this week, and here's what she had to say about the whole cows and burgers.
We got to address factory farming. Maybe we shouldn't be eating a hamburger for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Let's keep it real.
Slow down.
Yeah, I mean, hey.
I'll be at Shake
You can have your chopped cheese, okay? But we have to take a look at everything, and what we need to realize is that climate change is about every choice that we make in our lives.
Okay, so her point is that we need to eat fewer burgers, right? Have fewer farting cows. Okay, well, this was a picture sent to me by my friend last night, and it shows her and her chief of staff having a little meal, and man, it sure looks like he's digging into a nice juicy burger. Here's a close-up. Yep, there it is. And so I'm trying to wonder here, and maybe you guys can help me. What is better for left-wingers like this? So if you eat the burger, there's one fewer farting cow, and but so is it better that you have fewer cows or you're eating the meat? That's what I can't understand. I don't understand this debate, but she's talking about eating fewer burgers. Her chief of staff's digging into one. If that's not a controversy, if that's not Burgergate, I don't know what is. But the other thing that's funny is she went onto Twitter, and here's what she had to say about the encounter last night. She said, "Tonight, a dude was creepily and obviously taking a picture of me while pretending he wasn't, and I had to break his imaginary fourth wall and say, 'Hi, I'm a person. This is weird.'" So what I find interesting about that is she was able to eat. She had her picture taken like many politicians and celebrities do, but was she harassed? Was she threatened? Was she pushed or shoved? Was she forced to leave the restaurant? Was she screamed at? No, she ate her burger or meal in peace along with her chief of staff chowing down on a big old ex-farting cow, and she was able to do it. Yet it seems to be okay on the left for Republicans, if they go out to eat, to be harassed, to be thrown out of restaurants and called all sorts of names, even pushed and shoved. It's interesting double standard that those on the left seem to be able to eat in peace. So, but that's not all. That's not all she's doing. Not only is she, running contrary to her farting cow's testimony and statements, she's also about to become a comic book superhero. Devil's Due Comics is making her the star of an upcoming comic book. Here, check out this is the cover that they're planning to release. And there's also a special commemorative edition, collector's edition, which she dons kind of the role of Wonder Woman. Take a look at that here. And of course, she's, slaying the evil Republican, elephant there in her hero role. So things are just getting crazier and crazier for Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. And it's our job to point it out to you. So we have some serious news today. And we had some, nothing qualifies as serious when it comes to her. But it just shows you that, imagine if she were on our side and we had to defend her. I mean, we have to defend Trump from time to time. But I'd much rather take him than trying to defend her over and over and over again. So anyway, folks, that's the show for today. I hope you enjoyed it. Please subscribe. Please tell your friends about it. I really appreciate all the comments that you left on the last show. So please jump in and leave some more. I'm Bobby Eberle. This is a 13-minute news hour.